Yiratzon, Parshat Bamidbar 5781, Sefer Bamidbar. The limud should be L'Refuat Kol HaCholim, V'betocham Tanya Bat Odeh Margalit, Yosef Yair ben Aviv Achava, Harav Sivan ben Sima, B'toch Kol Sha'ar Cholei Yisrael. And that all our Achim, Achayot, Mishpacha, Am Yisrael that are in the south, or in anywhere else in Eretz Yisrael, that there is fear right now, they should feel the embracement of Am Yisrael, the caring of Am Yisrael, that Be'ezrat Hashem we should be zocheh to Yeshua B'karov. Be'ezrat Hashem, we're getting into Shavuot, and there are two things that we want to focus on. First is the name of the Sefer. We know that the desert is where we receive the Torah. The name for the desert in Hebrew is Bamidbar, which comes from the word of Dibur. And the area in the world where Hashem gives us the Torah is called the Midbar, and through this defining for us the idea of the Torah, the message of the Torah. And the second thing, in Shemot Perek Yutet, when we open up the story of Ma'amad Har Sinai, the first two words are B'chodesh Hashlishi, in the third month. And the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat Daf Peichet says B'chodesh Meshulash, Le'am Meshulash. But really what it's saying is that these two words are the entrance code into understanding not just when the Torah was given, but why it was given. Because in the Jewish calendar, we have basically two main months. We have the Chodesh HaRishon, which is where Hashem chooses us, and the Chodesh HaShvi'i, where we choose Hashem. What is the Chodesh HaShlishi? Why couldn't Hashem either given the Torah in the first month and taught us that the idea of the Torah, like the first month, is that Hashem believes in us? And why couldn't He give it in the seventh month and say that we are choosing Hashem through our Torah learning? What's the idea of the Chodesh HaShlishi? Why is it given in the third month? So these are our two questions. Why is the Torah given in the Midbar, in a place of conversation? And why is it given in the third month and not in the first or seventh? And I think if we learn the secret of the number 3, it can enable us to recognize the secret of what the Torah is trying to teach us. We know that every day we say Hashem Echad. Hashem is one, which means that Hashem comes in a world with no conflict, with no tension, with no problems, with no difficulties. And all of us are trying to search for that world, for the perfect world, for the complete world, for a world with no tension, with no conflict, with no falling. We think that that's the ideal. That's the Chodesh HaRishon, the month of Hashem that we're searching for, that we're yearning for, that we're looking for. But then we come after 1 is 2. Teaches the Maharal that there's no other word that we add a mem when we multiply it. Right? When we say shalosh, we say it doesn't end with a mem. Arba doesn't end with a mem. Chamesh doesn't end with a mem. Mem is rabim, multiply. Shnaim is where we multiply. And that's the idea of Pruruvu, that Hashem says the world is about multiplying. The number 2 is about conflict. Things are in tension. Things are different than Echad. The Echad is complete. The Shnaim is tension. Differences. Left wing, right wing. Chiloni, Charedi. South, north. Conflict, differences. Ribui, Shnaim. That's the idea of the number. The word is Shnaim. Mem, Rabim, multiply. Differences. And then we're all nervous. What do? Hashem Echad. Hashem is one, complete. The world is incomplete. So let's leave the world and run away to Hashem. Let's desert the problems, ignore the problems, and just run away to perfection. Let's build yeshivas that are perfect, that don't have windows, that are locked up, and they look at Hashem in the book, and they can't see the ribui. They can't see the missiles. They can't feel the pain. They can't see the brokenness. Marie Varabi Rav Ram says, a yeshiva without windows is a teva that destroys the world. You need to see the conflict. You need to see the tension. But then you're going to say, for what? Why do I want to see the tension? And Hashem says, because I believe that you can create the three. You can take the problems and make something new. You can take the problems and demand of yourself to be creative, an instigator of new creations. Hashem is saying, I didn't give you the world to replicate. I didn't give you to duplicate. I didn't give you a world so you could go backwards. I gave you a world to go forward, to take the two, take the conflict, address the conflict, see the conflict, internalize the conflict, and realize that Hashem is asking lechadesh, shir chadash, sing a new niggin on Shavuot. Third month, you've seen both. You've seen Hashem. Now you've seen the world. Now demand of yourself to look at the world, not from a thing where you're trying to retroact backwards, but you're moving it forward. You're willing to demand of yourself and the people around you and of your family to build. Not what was, but what will be. That's why we have 3 Batei Mikdash. First Mikdash was a Mikdash that had an Aron, that revealed God. It was perfect. But we were bad. In the second Beit Mikdash, there was no Aron. And so we thought that we're going to try to learn Torah. And Sinat Chinam doesn't matter. We don't need to deal with the world. Second Beit Mikdash is about realizing that we need a demand of ourselves to look at the world and not hate the world, not hate differences. But Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi is not called Beit HaMikdash HaRishon. Now that you've seen the Sinat Chinam, you've seen that people see the difference as something that is confronting you, not completing you, then you'll never get to Beit Shlishi. And we need Beit Shlishi so much. But we need to understand the word Shlishi. We need to internalize the idea that it's not about looking backwards to what was, to 1967, June 7th, Kafchet Iyar, when they got into Yerushalayim. It's about realizing that if we got back to Yerushalayim, it gave us a new image. Yom HaAtzmaut gave us a land physical. Yom Yerushalayim gave us the spiritual. And Am Yisrael is torn between these two. The ones that love Yom Yerushalayim and diminish Yom HaAtzmaut. And the ones that love Yom HaAtzmaut and diminish Yom Yerushalayim. And yes, that's the reality. And only those two can build Shavuot. The Chodesh HaShlishi. Yom Yerushalayim was an Iyar. And the Iyar taught us the climax of our ability. After Nisan, that showed us the ability of Hashem. But now we need to realize that Hashem wants us to build. And that's why the Torah is given in the Midbar. Conversation. the differences can only become a creation through a conversation. We all know that the greatest, highest level of Shechina B'neihem, between a husband and wife, is that they're able to converse their differences. They're able to realize that they don't have the same name, and they speak about their differences. And B'siyata Dishmaya, the bracha to Am Yisrael, as we're entering into the Chodesh of Sivan, the third month, entering into Matan Torah, that will be Zocha, Bezrat Hashem, to not be afraid of the tension, but to let it speak to each other. And like Moraine Rabbeinu Refuman teaches, that if you take one side and the other side, they're different. And if you bring them together, they make a noise. If you're able to converse them, then it creates sound, it creates music, it creates excitement that we're all in so much need of. Shabbat Shalom.